Got it there and here. Alrighty, peaceful greetings to ye all. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Islam, Islam, Islam. I am Brother Hasan Ghaziel Bey here at Morocco at Northwest of Maxim. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome to this is community health and healing with I, Brother Hasan Ghaziel Bey, part deux, as promised yesterday. Today we are going to enjoy ourselves, right? Colloquially speaking, having fun, right? Even though I take this seriously, what it is that I'm doing as far as sharing this information and knowledge. Again, I am an internationally certified professional astrologer, and being one that is Moorish American, it is based on the standards pertaining to Zodiac Constitution and Clock of Destiny, Book 1 and Book 2, as copyrighted in the Library of Congress. It is not according to the standards of our sons and daughters that may be a part of and or run astrological organizations and societies. Alrighty, just want to make sure that we're clear on these things, because I know that sometimes astrologers can be kind of, a little backbitey when they want to be able to say only this particular astrological organization on this website, and only they list these specific astrologers that are internationally certified. And 9 times out of 10, you won't see too many of us with copper tone skin being on that list, or those of us who openly wear our fezzes unapologetically. And it may offend some of you and may not, or definitely offend those who are oath of death taking Masons and Eastern Stars, whose whole agenda is to make sure what it is that I'm sharing based on how I'm presenting myself is blackballed and shadow banned as much as possible. So make sure you guys hit the like button, share with your loved ones, make sure you are subscribed to 7HealStar. Help us get over that 1,000 mark, right? Have over 507 videos of teaching for over these last 3 years, and we're still well under 700. Never was it ever in our minds to monetize these things anyway, so that people can get the lessons uninterrupted. However, for it to really be out there to more people to help combat the ones that may secretly wear a fez that's horribly marked with jewels and words, let's counter that drive there of those who secretly wear a fez, and whose whole agenda is to make sure that you guys do not see things as I'm presenting it here on 7HealStar Astrology Firm's YouTube channel. All right, so with that being said, I want to get right into my presentation. What I am also going to do, I'm going to put in the chat, as promised, the link here. Brother Tyro, peaceful greetings to you, beloved brother. Brother Tyro bases peace and love, everyone. So I'm going to provide here readings, so to speak. I'm going to pin this message here for y'all. And you can see that there's a Zoom link, which means that while I'm live, you can actually come into the Zoom. All righty. All you have to do is there'll be a private message, right? Because I don't know, it could at one point in time it'd be more than one being in here. And if that's the case, it gets to be more than one of us, then privately message me while you're here on Zoom your natal time, natal date, and natal location. I will be able to put these things into my database and actually just analyze your genethliacal figure, your natal chart. All right. And just ask some questions briefly, whatever just stands out to me. I'll be asking you some questions, or maybe you have a question for me. That's why you hit the link there and came on up, right, for the quick reading. All right. You guys will also note that in the description soon, once I complete this, will be the Cash App. All righty. The Caduceus symbol, or what you say, $. Our Astrology Street is the Cash App. We do accept donations. They're never mandatory. They're never compulsory. However, always accepted. Considering that 7HealStar is more like a national public television station, so to speak, where we are presenting things to you all, and it's not like we're selling advertising here. So it's like no one's, transacting with us, to have their things advertised, so to speak, here. So this isn't, again, not a monetized channel, at least at this point. I don't know. Maybe there will be something where so many of you guys subscribe, and then YouTube's like, we got to offer you something. It's like, well, maybe. But other than that, guys, we're just completely donation based. All right. As far as our presentations here on YouTube, schedule your mirror astro literacy sessions. Never forget that, as well as if you want to start out with just an hour, the Celestial Promise session. So let's get started. What am I talking about today? I'm going to be talking today when it comes to community health, right, and healing. Today, I want to speak on Mercury and eclipses, all right, because that's what's actually happening today. Mercury will enter its retrograde zone. Some people say the retrograde shadow, right? And I will share screen and bring these things up for you guys to see. So I'm going to do a brief presentation, and then I'll speak on something, just astrologically. Maybe I'll look at one of these celebrities' charts and, just bring it up. I know we spoke on Tamar Esteem Braxton yesterday, right? We spoke on Tamar Braxton's chart yesterday. And maybe, just maybe, with, me starting there, maybe I can continue today and we can speak on where those eclipses will take place in her chart. All right. And with looking at where those, where the eclipse, those eclipse is actually, but because I'll show you a list of eclipses for this year taking place. And we'll look to see where Mercury's retrograde in her chart. Mercury enters its retrograde zone. I think it's going to be, the zone is between 15 degrees, Aries, 59 minutes, to about 27 degrees, Aries, 13 minutes. So that's the span, all right, for Mercury's retrograde, all right. So that's about 11 degrees and 14 minutes in the span. All right, as far as the retrograde zone. All right. Mother Sahar says, peaceful greetings to everyone. Peaceful greetings, Mother Sahar. All right. And guys, remember, the Zoom link is there in the chat for those that will get a quick reading. All righty. Just so you can see, it's a tester. So there's no obligation to exchange. However, when you come into the Zoom, you can message me if it's more than one of you besides myself in here. And as I have, 2 instances of myself here, it should just allow you to just privately message, alrighty, so that I can be able to see your natal time, natal date, and natal location. So let us enjoy ourselves here. I think what I'll do is show you when these things are taking place. First, we'll read in the Encyclopedia of Medical Astrology by Howard Leslie Cornell the articles, just the beginning pertaining to the articles for Mercury and eclipses. And then we'll go back and look at our eclipse schedule, as well as our retrogrades and stations, right? Schedules also, all right? So with that, retrograde periods schedule, let me say it like that. So let me go and share screen here. And this is a chart where I've already have it set for you all to see where Mercury's going to enter its retrograde zone later on today. From near the Baltimore Corporation, Maryland State Republic, for the 18th March 2024 at 2300 hours, 40 minutes, and 54 seconds. We will see that is when Mercury enters its retrograde zone, or as some people call the retrograde shadow. And it will enter at 15 degrees Aries, 59 minutes. And from our perspective here near the Baltimore Corporation, the fifth house. All right. So already it makes me think about, thinking, communicating, reasoning, so to speak. Mercury. 15 degrees is a Geminian degree. So 15 minus 12 gets us 3. The third sign pertaining to the zodiac is Gemini. So it makes me think that's at a pretty favorable degree pertaining to degree theory. However, in Aries, we're thinking about not only the reasoning, thinking, and communication, or even early childhood development. We're also thinking about the ideas, the ideals, the self beginnings, so to speak. And this is only just, since it's just basically 1 minute away from 16 degrees Aries, which 16 degrees Aries is children. 15 degrees deals with public life. And I think, like oratory energy also. And I'll get into that when I come back. Just wanted to just show you guys that here is where it's taking place. All right. And so in the fifth house. So this has a lot with me thinking about early childhood development, the ideals pertaining to early childhood development, and helping to nurture their reasoning mind. Being, even though it's in Aries, this particular tropical regiomontanous house system has the fifth house cusp on Aries also. So we will look to Mars here at 27 degrees Aquarius, 1 minute, still within the astrological area. 22 degrees to 28 degrees Aquarius is the astrological area. And here in the third house, this is where I think we can be very active in not only sharing the astrology, but 27 degrees itself minus 24 gets us 3 again. So that's a Geminian degree also. So we're definitely dealing with communicating some things pertaining to early childhood development and reasoning. And I think it will, for me, when in terms of astrology, people subscribing to the YouTube channel Astrology Street, all rights reserved. And there's a playlist there, a 22 video playlist for the astrological children's show, so to speak, children's presentation called Astrology Street with Brother Hasan, where it's a puppets presentation, right? So puppet presentation where it is sharing astrology. And it's really not just for children, it's for children and their loved ones, mom, dad, grandma, granddad. It's for all the loved ones to be able to begin really comprehending in a unintimidated fashion, really comprehending astrology. All right. So let's get right into it. Let's go and let's look at these lists actually. So let's look at these schedules. So you guys see right here, right? We're on a left-hand side of my screen here, and it says eclipses. All righty. So you can, adjust your time zones accordingly. All righty, for when we're seeing these things. However, we have an eclipse that is occurring on the 25th, right, of March 2024. So you're seeing the year on the left, the month right here in the middle, and the day right here on the right. All right. So as far as these three numbers are concerned, where you see my cursor, 2024 is the year, the third month, March, according to the Gregorian calendars there, and the 25th day of March. And that's taking place at 3:01 anti-meridian Eastern. All righty. So 3:01 anti-meridian Eastern. All right. So for Central, that's 2:01 anti-meridian. For Pacific, that will be 12:01 anti-meridian, which means 9 times out of 10, everyone, as long as it's a clear sky with no chemtrail produced clouding of the sky, everyone should be able to witness that lunar eclipse, because we can see the moon will be reflecting. Some will say this symbol is opposition, moon opposition sun. So moon and sun will be 180 degrees from each other, therefore signifying a full moon. And this particular full moon will yield an eclipse at 3:01 anti-meridian Eastern. All right. And again, adjust your time zones accordingly. And the moon will be at 5 degrees Libra, 7 minutes. The sun will be at 5 degrees Aries, 7 minutes. So we can get into that to see what that denotes, right? So if we were to go here and just look at 5 degrees, we're here in the Encyclopedia of Astrology by Nicholas DeVore. Unsatisfied ambitions. You see, we're here in Aries, so 5 degrees is unsatisfied ambitions. All righty. And seeing as though it's, 7 minutes past 5 on its way to 6, jaundice here is also an energy that you may observe in some way, shape, or form, whether you're even watching a TV show and it's a medical TV show and they're talking about jaundice at that time. You're like, whoa, it's amazing that actually popped up. Like, this is how you'll see that tendencies that astrology shows that are possible will manifest. But unsatisfied ambitions is 5 degrees Aries. Let's see, is there anything at 5 degrees Libra? There's Cancer, there's Leo, there's Virgo. Here's Libra. 5 degrees Libra is homicide. All righty. And then 6 degrees is the degree of birds, aviation, and goiter. So unsatisfied ambitions and homicide. All righty. That's where we're seeing the sun is going to be at, pardon me. Yes, the sun is going to be at unsatisfied ambitions, 5 degrees Aries, and the moon's going to be at homicide, 5 degrees Libra. So we're not saying that something negative or bad is going to happen in terms of homicide. I just would pay attention, all right, to that. See what happens when it comes to birds and goiter, or aviation. Is there a plane crash that takes place, a helicopter crash, something? Was somebody dissatisfied, oh, I'm unsatisfied with being a pilot, so I'm just going to crash this plane or something. Or, uh, they were unsatisfied, thought they were going to have, the jaundice removed from their body, and then they just want to, end it. I don't know. Or what it could be is that people could use their mindsets to better their life, killing off a part of their thinking, right? Instead of it being, well, if someone's killing something about themselves, isn't that suicide? It could be. However, if we personify it in a sense where there's a mindset that isn't benefiting us or helping us in any way, shape, or form, then we can transmute, right? And so another word for homicide, if we were to look at it in terms of not outwardly harming another, yet inwardly making a transmutation of energy within ourselves, then we can take one consciousness, put it away, put it behind us, and be able to graduate into another consciousness, so to speak. All right. Guys, don't forget that link is there for you to come in and get a quick reading. If you would like to come in and see exactly what it is that I can actually do, right? I actually exited out of that and I didn't mean to, right? Oh, not the health encyclopedia, even though that's pretty fun too. I got a few of those, right? All right, so what I am just bringing this back up because I know I'm going to get into it again when we look at. So we already looked at the eclipses. So just looked at that for the eclipses. So let's keep that in mind. All right. No need to repeat. This is a recording. So you guys can always go back and look at it, rewind. I think you can scrub back through even now while it's live. All right. Now, as far as the retrograde is concerned, right? That's Uranus, right? Boom. Mercury here, station retrograde is what the SR is for. And Mercury is station retrograde on April 1st, 2024. However, for March 18th, 2024, which is today, Mercury will enter its retrograde zone at 15 degrees Aries, 59 minutes. All right. So this is what we have. This is what we can see. So we can see all the dates to just for this particular chart that I have up. That's why it's, getting all these things. However, what we're paying attention to is when Mercury enters its retrograde zone, when is it station retrograde, where it appears from then to stand still from our perspective here on Midgard, Earth plane Asha. And then it appears to go backwards from our perspective here until it's stationed direct. All right. So it'll appear retrograde at 27 degrees Aries, 13 minutes. It will remain to appear retrograde until it's stationed direct on April 25th, 2024. And then it will continue within its retrograde zone until it leaves its retrograde zone on May 13th, 2024. And that's why we know that the retrograde zone being 11 degrees, 14 minutes in span from 15 degrees Aries, 59 minutes to 27 degrees Aries, 13 minutes. And then we can see that when it comes to this retrograde, right? Mercury is retrograde from April 1st to April 25th, as I just, said and showed. However, it's between March 18th and 2020, between March 18th, 2024 and May 13th, 2024, it will cross the degrees of its retrograde zone 3 times and make conjunctions to the listed planets 3 times, offering the chance to first meet these issues, that's 1, then rework them, that's 2, and then finally resolve them, that's 3. So how does this work in your chart? What is this eclipse, right, in your natal chart, this lunar eclipse? How is that taking place? And I know we have a solar eclipse happening on April 8th, right? So I think people may be, oh, look, Mercury's going retrograde on the 1st, and then 7 days later, I guess. Well, 3 days. No, hold on. Yeah, 7 days later, right? Oh, then 7 days later, it's an eclipse. Ooh, boobity boo. Look, guys, at the end of the day, the only thing you really need to be concerned about is what areas in your life, if we were to look at your natal chart, what areas in your life are going to be affected? How are you going to be affected by these? And that's why I always say to schedule your mirror astro literacy session and or your celestial promise session. The mirror astro literacy session, again, is a 3-hour session where I'm not just telling you what's there in your natal chart, I'm also making sure that you can read. I'm able to teach people how to read astrology in under 3 hours. However, I know that it's a process in which I do within the 3 hours to make one's comfortable in being able to do so. So they know what to look for. However, I always am going to schedule subsequent sessions so you guys can be even more comfortable and really see what it is that I provide for you all so that we can continue on our way, pardon me, to solve and keep resolved our social and economic issues. All right. So yeah, as you can see over here on these eclipses, like I said, it's a solar eclipse happening on the 8th of April, which is 7 days after Mercury is stationed retrograde on the 1st, even though, like I said, later on today, as you can see, at 2300 hours, 40 minutes and 54 seconds Eastern, which is 11:40:54 post meridian PM, right? Tonight is when Mercury will enter its retrograde zone, all right? And then we see on the 17th of September, we have another lunar eclipse. And then on the 2nd of October, we have a solar eclipse, all right? And it's looking like, honestly, we'll be able to see the solar eclipse that happens at 222, right? Post meridian, just 22 minutes after 1400 hours. So this will be able to be seen. This eclipse will be able to be seen in the northern hemisphere. I think it's interesting though. This solar eclipse is happening at the sun's exaltation degree. The sun is exalted at 19 degrees Aries. I think that's rather interesting that that's where it's going to be an eclipse. I think that is really speaking to probably some change in leadership, honestly. It may be those that have been in power and may not have been so great with what they've been doing in power. They will be removed from that seat, and those who are honorable, alrighty, will be able to have the seat. It's really a trading places for the better. I can kind of see what's happening there. However, the moon and the sun, because this is a lunar solar conjunction where this eclipse is taking place, it's going to be at the sun's exaltation degree. I think that's very, very interesting. All righty. And as far as that, the next lunar eclipse and the next solar eclipse, these are all visible in the northern hemisphere. They will all be visible. Honestly, they will all be visible, unless these corporations who seek to cloud the sky with their fumes of chemical trailings and stuff like that block the sky so you guys can't see it. Other than that, from what I see here, according to these times, as far as Eastern, so-called Eastern time zone, all these are to be visible. None of these are happening under the horizon at all for this year. So they'll all be visible in the northern hemisphere. All right. So with that being said, right? At least they'll be visible from near the Baltimore Corporation, Maryland State Republic, and anything else really under the Virgo zone, and really just all of here at the North Gate from the East Coast to the West Coast shall be seen. All right. So now let's just get into the Encyclopedia of Medical Astrology, and then we'll come back to this. And we'll do an example. Maybe I'll go back into Tamar's chart, right? Go back into Tamar Esteem Braxton's chart. And let's see where the eclipse maybe we'll look at both the lunar and solar eclipse, where they're taking place in her chart, right? And we'll also see where this Mercury retrograde zone is happening too. And it's just looking like, for the most part, Mercury and the sun are all in Aries, and Luna is the only thing that's in Libra when it comes to this lunar eclipse. All right. Questions, comments, and/or suggestions out there so far for the 5 of you that are present right now? Questions, comments, and/or suggestions? I'm going to stop the screen share here, and we'll come on back to that, and I will bring up Tamar, right? And we'll see, like, what can we potentially say could happen, to give you an example of how we could see these things if one was, and when one is, to come for a session with myself. All right. So you're going to sign up with the session with me. Some things. These are just one of many things that can be done when analyzing your natal chart. All right. So let me go here and share the screen. All right. And so just to first show you, just even in our calendar, right? Just to show you, even in our calendar here, if we go over to April 1st, we can see that even though some will call it the April Fool's Day, right? And it's the day in history where, there were some Moors promised, something. We'll just keep it short. And as they were on their way to the ships, they realized that they were duped, and now the ships and their homes were being burnt. So there was just obviously some cycles of catastrophe taking place astrologically that resulted in Moors being warred upon. And again, if we recall from our presentations with the Clock of Destinies, book 1 and book 2, these past few Fridays, we will recognize that, when we look into most current times past recorded and some even further in the past, both the copper tones and the pale skins have been completely unfair here at Midgard, Earth Plane Asha, on this planet Earth, that is. And now there is the universal balance that needs to take place. And so it's interesting how on the commemoration of that day, that was a war tactic, Mercury is retrograde. As we can see, it says for that day, it's interesting. It says 1814 Eastern, right? So approximately 1800 hours, 14 minutes of Mercury is retrograde at 6:14 p.m. Eastern. All right, adjust your time zones accordingly. So into the Encyclopedia of Medical Astrology by Howard Leslie Cornell, we're going to go right into the article, all right, for Mercury here, all righty. And it's in the actual book for those of us that actually have a physical copy of this book. It's on page 516, but for those that are part of Prophet Noble University, as I am also myself, page 537 out of 979 pages. All right. I'm going to just read the article on Mercury. It's here in the left-hand side here, right? And it will complete itself here at the top right-hand side. And even though there's many sub-articles, it's two sections. I think it's section 1 right there, section 2, section 3 also, right? Because it goes into Mercury diseases and things like that before it gets into Mercy, right? As you can see, it's quite a bit there for Mercury, but we just want to get into the main portion of the article even before section 1. So that's all I'm going to read there. And then I'll read the article within the Encyclopedia of Medical Astrology by Howard Leslie Cornell on eclipses. I will read that article also. So let's read Mercury, all right? Mercury, the planet Mercury. Hermes, right? Some will say Hermes. Also known as, quote, the messenger of the gods, end quote. This planet is the principal ruler of the mind and is known as the planet of the mind, reason, logic, etc. Also, Mercury rules the nerves and the nervous system in general. Mercury, well placed and aspected at birth, gives a good and well balanced mind, but when weak and afflicted at birth and by direction, various disorders of the mind and reason develop. Mental diseases and disturbances, shallowness of the mind, poor reasoning powers, bad judgment, madness, insanity, epilepsy, nervous diseases, etc. Mercury is strongest at birth when found in the airy signs, as in Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and is also strong in Virgo. Mercury rules the two signs, Gemini and Virgo, and is said to be exalted in Virgo or Aquarius, to have his detriment in Sagittarius and fall in Pisces. Mercury stirs the vocal cords into action and rules the air which vibrates through them. Also, the vibration which gives sight are originated by Mercury. The aspects and position of Mercury sometimes express the features. Mercury exerts a dry influence when masculine and moisture when feminine, and is considered a variable, varying, or irregular planet, and partakes largely for the time of the planet or planets with which he is in aspect. And that just basically means, when we go to check the chart, we see what's the aspects between other planets and Mercury, you know what I mean? And what we can actually see from that, right? When with Saturn, Mercury becomes like Saturn in influence, right? That's what it's saying. He becomes like Saturn in influence and tends to cause the same kind of diseases as does Saturn. And so with each planet, Mercury is called the hermaphrodite planet, owing to his dual nature, as he may be either masculine or feminine, according to the nature of the planet with which he is aspected or associated for the time or his position. He is masculine when oriental of the sun. Oriental means east. And feminine when occidental. Occidental means west. He is masculine when in a masculine sign, and feminine when in a feminine sign. Mercury is masculine when with a masculine planet, and feminine when with a feminine planet. It is also masculine or feminine according to the number of his aspects with masculine or feminine planets, and the sign he is in, or as he is oriental or occidental. Oriented or occidented. Right? Mercury is masculine or feminine, diurnal or nocturnal, good or evil, in influence, lucky or unlucky, according to the nature of the planets with which he is aspected. Mercury is considered as being ordinarily a cold planet, cold in influence, cold and dry when masculine, and cold and moist when feminine. He is considered a cold, dry, earthy, and melancholic planet, and is also nervous, impulsive, egotistical, malefic, when with malefics, and benefic in influence when with the benefics. Mercury, when well aspected and dignified, gives a strong mind and memory, active and subtle. When afflicted, he tends to cause overwork, sleepiness, insomnia, restlessness, nervous diseases, and is indicative of a lack of spiritual calm. Also, when afflicted, ill-dignified, or combust, he tends to produce a mean person, a liar, thief, gambler, swindler, etc. He may also be taken for the anoretta. You guys can look that up when you look up what anoretta is, right? Because I won't get into it right now. Like anoretic degree would be like the 29th degree. Oh no, sort of kind of energy. Right? He may also be taken for the anoretta when strongly afflicted at birth. He is considered by Max Heindel to be the lower octave of Neptune. That's interesting because I really look at Venus being the lower octave of Neptune, but that's according to Max Heindel. And by most other authors as the lower octave of Uranus. That's more of how I see Mercury. I see Mercury as the lower octave of Uranus, Venus is the lower octave of Neptune, and Mars is the lower octave of Pluto. For convenience of reference, this article is divided into 3 sections as follows. Section 1, the influence of Mercury. Section 2, Mercury rules. And Section 3, the diseases and afflictions of Mercury, which you guys want to read along or read further, actually, because I'm going to stop here at this point. Remember, you guys that have access to Prophet Noble Drew Ali University, which is free, as always it has been. And if you don't know, it's always somewhere in our description for our videos. The description will be up for this video after this video is complete. All right. Questions, comments, and or suggestions, guys. Don't be afraid to chat with one another amongst yourselves or ask me any questions. And remember, there's a link there for you guys to come on up. You want to go in on your chart. I'll do a very quick reading. All righty. You will type to me your natal time, natal date, natal location in a private message to me. I will then put it into my database, and then I will look at your chart without sharing your chart publicly. I will not screen share your chart. During this live, I will just look into your chart from here and just ask you questions, or maybe you have a question for me. However, I will be able to look into the chart to be able to just view the tendencies, view what certain promises are there, and look at some other different angles and aspects, so to speak, pertaining to your chart. All right. Now we're going to go to page, I think, 214 out of 979 pages. and look at eclipses. I think that was page 214. Let's see. Am I correct? Is it 214? Eclipses at the lower left-hand corner of the page, right? Since we started out speaking about eclipses and Mercury, so we just read on Mercury. So right there where eclipses begins, and it will be complete here at the top right-hand corner. So let's read this article on eclipses. And then after this, we'll go back into Tamar Estine Braxton's chart and then just kind of see what some things we kind of see there. All right. As far as where the eclipses are going to take place, the next lunar and solar eclipse, and then where Mercury is having its retrograde shadow within our chart. All right. Since we started out, in part one showing a bit of Tamar Braxton's chart. All right. And the only reason I picked it because yesterday was the anniversary for her solar return because she manifested on the 17th March. All righty. If I remember, I think did it say 77? I'm trying to remember. I think it was, 77, 1977. But anyway, so yeah, that's why one reason I brought her up. Because when I went to go look for the different beings, solar returns today, I was like, hey, Tamar Braxton, look at that. Someone else who's from near the Maryland State Republic, right? All right, so here we go. Eclipses affect those individuals whose maps of birth have configurations similar to those at the time of the eclipse, and who may also be living under the shadow of the eclipse, or if it is visible to them. At a solar eclipse, the solar activity is depleted and low. At the new moon, if an eclipse of the moon, the lunar activity is more depleted than that of the sun. Eclipses are portents which should not be overlooked. See lunations. The effect of an eclipse of the sun endures a year for every hour the sun is eclipsed, and a month for every hour the moon is eclipsed. An eclipse of the sun, especially falling on the places of malefics in the radical map, which is your natal chart. The radix, R-A-D-I-X, the radix chart. Radical, which means descended from the root. So that's your natal chart. So it's saying an eclipse of the sun, especially falling on the places of malefics in your natal chart. So if it's happening in the places of Saturn or Aries, all right? I mean, Saturn or Mars, right? Saturn or Mars, right? Because they're considered the malefics. And if it's depending on too, where like, how is Mercury is Mercury a benefic or a malefic since it has this dual nature? But mainly Saturn and Mars are considered malefics traditionally speaking. So an eclipse of the sun, especially falling on the places of malefics in the radical map, tend to renew and increase the original strength of such malefic, whether it relate to trouble, sickness, or death. No effect of an eclipse can be very good, even though falling on the place of a benefic, but the evil effects ascribed to them are very probable. The Lord of an eclipse being in a human sign, its evil effects will fall upon mankind. See human signs under human. It's interesting because the human signs would be like Gemini, because those are two brothers. Virgo, right? Then Aquarius, right? But I would say Sag too, but nah, I can't say Sag because that's a centaur. That's half human, half horse, actually, right? So I would say maybe Gemini, Virgo, and Aquarius, because Aquarius is, a man pouring out water. So it's saying, that That's what I'm thinking. But we can always look in this book and even on your own, right? The human signs under the word human, right? They are more important and more serious in their effects if they happen on the birthday, right? So those of you that are, experiencing, whoever has um, what was that? The 25th? For those of you that manifested March 25th, there's a lunar eclipse taking place on March 25th. And then those of you that have your solar return on April the 8th, there's a solar return. So lunar return on March 25th, solar return on April the 8th. All right. So they are more important and more serious in their effects if they happen on the birthday or solar return and take part in the solar revolution. A male born at an eclipse of the sun may never breathe or expire soon after birth. And so with a female born at an eclipse of the moon. For cases and birth data of death of males born at time of solar eclipse, see Austria, number 152, and Short Life, number 775 in the 1001 NNs. You just have to look that book up because right now it is escaping me what the NN stands for. Because I went over that before in a class because we had looked it up. But you guys can look that up. 1001 NNs. It's interesting. Let's see. Could I, because I'm not sure if I could, that thing muted on me right there. But anyway, we'll just keep reading. An eclipse of the, let's see, will it let me in? Let's see, let's look that up. If it's got that going. It's kind of what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. All right. Let's see. Boom. Look up. Search the web. I could. Yeah. Just want to keep moving on with my presentation because I already had an idea. But, I can always bring it up tomorrow. Hey guys, I spoke about yesterday, blah, 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 blah. I just can't remember right now because it's not really my focus, but at least there's a reference there, right? It's another reason why I enjoy the Encyclopedia of Medical Astrology because most really good astrology books give reference. An eclipse of the sun threatens some male member of the family with sickness, hurt, or death. And an eclipse of the moon, some female member, right? An eclipse falling on the moon in a child's mat denotes hurt to the mother. So you guys, maybe you'll think like, or you looked at, hey, when is these eclipse taking place? When did this eclipse take place? And you ever see, or your, where the moon is in your chart, and see whenever there was a lunar eclipse that took place there, or a solar eclipse that took place. But an eclipse falling on the moon is what we're looking for, because then that is saying that you will know that denotes hurt to one's mother. Falling on the sun, if there was an eclipse that fell on where the sun is in your chart, it's hurt to the father. On the place of Jupiter, if an eclipse takes place there, it's hurt to an uncle. And if there's an eclipse that takes place on Mars, it's going to be hurt to a brother. On the place of Venus, if there's an eclipse that takes place on Venus, it's going to be hurt to a sister. And on the place of Mercury, if there's an eclipse that takes place on Mercury, it's going to be hurt to an aunt. For the further mention of eclipses and the diseases and afflictions they cause, see air, bubo, calamity, cattle, childbirth, cholera, cough, death, disaster, drought, earthquakes, see earth, endemic, epidemics, events, fainting, famine, fever, floods, fruit, functions, influenza, mankind, middle life, miseries. Full moon, quote unquote, metatonic cycle, quote unquote, new moon, quote unquote, under the article pertaining to moon. All right, so all under moon. Mortality, murder, old age, quote unquote, virus under pestilence, pirates, plague, public reign, revolutionary, rottenness, scarlet fever, sedition, shipwreck, storms, trouble, volcanoes, war, weather, wind. All right. So all those things, you know, are just, the further mentions of eclipses. All right. Those are things that, can be observed from maybe times past. Hey, a date, there's a chart cast forward, and you go, hey, wow, it just happened like within this amount of time of a certain eclipse, whether it's solar or lunar. All right. So that's good there. Stop the screen share there. Bring up Tamar's chart here. All right. And let me go and share the screen there. And we'll bring up Tamar's chart here, right? And so we know that the lunar eclipse that's taking place on the 25th March 2025, right? We're already well aware of where it's taking place, right? We know it's taking place at 5 degrees Libra, 7 minutes. We've already looked that up, right? We'll just look again right here, right? Happening at 3:01 a.m. Eastern. So 3:01 anti-meridian Eastern, 5 degrees, right? Libra, 7 minutes is where the moon's going to be. And we know 5 degrees is homicide, right? 6 degrees Libra is dealing with aviation and birds and goiter. This is not saying that something's bad going to happen to Tamar by way of a bird or whatever. Like somebody poisoned her chicken. Like, that's not what we're saying. All right. Just pointing out that that's what it is in the Encyclopedia of Astrology by Nicholas DeVore, as taken from Vivian E. Robson's Fixed Stars and Constellations. All right. So, and then, the sun is going to be at 5 degrees Aries, 7 minutes. And we know that's, unsatisfied ambitions, right? And 6 degrees Aries is jaundice, from what I said earlier. All right. So if we were to look into her chart here, right? And we were to just find, if we would count all the whole sign, right? Instead of just saying, oh, well, the first house is just between 15 degrees Sagittarius, 37 minutes, to 19 degrees Capricorn, 30 minutes. Instead of just looking at that as just her first house, let's do whole sign first. And we know Aries is 1, 2, 3, 4, her fifth whole sign house, right? Aries is her fifth whole sign house. However, according to this tropical Placidus chart, we see that the Placidus fourth house cusp is on Aries. So it's her whole sign fifth, Placidus fourth. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is Libra, right? So it's her 11th whole sign house, but her 10th Placidus house. So this eclipse is taking place again at 5 degrees, 7 minutes, which is literally, and I mean literally, 0 degrees, 30 minutes past the cusp of her fourth Placidus house and 10th Placidus house. So the moon will be 1 degree, will be 0 degrees, 30 minutes past her 10th house cusp, and the sun will be 0 degrees, 30 minutes past her fourth house cusp. And just there alone is just, hey, when it comes to home and career, when it comes to, home leadership and the balance of one's career, right? The way that one is taking charge at home and being able to find balance in their career, that's where the lunar eclipse is going to take place. What's interesting, however, is looking in the contemporary sense that it's within a conjunction to Pluto here and her midheaven, her MC and IC. So I think this is something that's really going to affect Tamar's, this something transformational taking place as far as her public standing, public relations, so to speak. And it may also be around justice and injustice. It may also be around one's ideals when pertaining to contracts and contracting. So there may be a transformation that's taking place there. So that's one way of looking at how the eclipse is taking place in her chart. Now, we also know that when the Mercury is taking place, we saw Mercury go, it enters its retrograde zone tonight, alrighty, at 15 degrees, Aries, 59 minutes. And its zone ends at 27 degrees, Aries, 13 minutes. So that means that when it comes to Tamar's Venus and South Node, Mercury will be making its 3 passes in her Placidus fourth house, which is her whole sign fifth house. So motherhood and childhood are themes here as far as that Mercury retrograde is concerned. And something dealing not only with past loves and past lives. I think here's where Tamar could have quite a bit of closure, not just from people in this immediate lifetime as she may have dated or been in relationships with, but having closure there, but also from previous lifetimes. Maybe actually being able to resolve the karma from previous lifetimes and being able to have a lot more closure that is needed, that may be just something that she automatically knows or always kind of known within her spirit. However, due to not wanting to seem like an oddball out or a weirdo around other people that may not comprehend the insight and intuition she may have even from other past lives and beings that she's interacting with now in this lifetime. This is where I think love from past lives, honestly, maybe even when it pertains to things about finances, so to speak, there are things that are actually coming back up to the surface that may have to be actually met, so that she can be able to resolve any issues from childhood, any issues with mother, so to speak. That could be some type of theme, or just the fact that the energies of childhood and motherhood could be central when it comes to one, this eclipse, however, two, definitely Mercury's retrograde shadow within her whole sign fifth, Placidus fourth house. All right. There are any questions, comments, and or suggestions for me going once? I'd like to thank you all for joining me for Community Health Part 2, right? I look forward to seeing you all this Thursday for what you say. Well, don't you guys know it's a party happening? It's a community health party that's going on, right? So for Thursday, 21st March 2024, right? At 6, well, it's not really 0600, it's 1800 hours Eastern, but 6 post meridian, all righty? 6 post meridian Eastern, all right? So that's 1800 hours Eastern. Community Health and Nutrition Fruition with Mother Sahar L. She has amazing knowledge when it comes to community health and nutrition fruition. She has, you guys hear her bio on Thursday, right? It is amazing. Those of you that have received the email, and shout out to those of you that already have donated to showing up for Thursday. You guys will definitely have the link, of course, or the link for Zoom is the same one that I posted here in the chat. You can just go in there and copy it, but I will still do my due diligence and make sure I email you guys the link. Those of you that have already donated for Thursday, as well as being able, your donation also make sure that you get the archived video also. Alrighty, that will be held within the Google Drive, so you can also view it later. right? And usually it's audio and video when it comes to um, what's in the Google Drive. So even if you can't watch the video, but you still want to listen to Mother Sahar's presentation, you can. All right. So with that being said, I'd like to see you all on Thursday, 21st, March 2024 at 6 p.m. Eastern. There's the Zoom number there, the Zoom identifier, as well as the Zoom passcode. I just realized that passcode is misspelled. I need to go and fix that. That's interesting. I will. I'll just go right into my software and fix that. Look at that. Look, I noticed. You guys know. Look, peep that. On the day that Mercury's about to go retrograde, I noticed a misspelling. That's amazing. So I'll fix it. You know, and I love when I see that because it makes it true for the astrology for myself. But yeah, I'll make sure I go and touch that up. That's interesting because usually my devices let me know, hey man, don't you mean this word? Well, it's a pause, it's a code. It's a special kind of code. No, anyway. So any Hoosers, I appreciate you all. I'll make sure I go and edit that, of course. And I look forward to seeing you all on Thursday in Zoom. It will not be live. It will be as far as on social media, but it will be live as far as in Zoom privately for those of us that will be there in the Zoom. All right. So join us with Mother Sahar. I will be sitting at her feet also giving this wisdom that she shares pertaining to community health and nutrition fruition. All right. Questions, comments, and no suggestions going to Twizzeyes. Schedule your Mirror Astro Literacy session with Brother Hasan Ghaziel Bey, for your 3-hour self-reflection session. That is the Mirror session, right? As well as if you would like to just have an hour session to see what it's like. You know, some people have done that also. A lot of people go straight for the Mirror Astro Literacy session because that's what I'm actually known for. That is always key for me because I'm about assisting us in knowing how to solve our social and economic issues via the universal law as shown in the 12 signs of the zodiac, the universal laws of nature shown in the 12 signs of the zodiac. Because, you know, astrology and the zodiac and horoscopes have been mispresented, right, and prostituted in so many different ways that I trust that what is shared when you guys observe astrology and learning about it from myself, that you can be able to get back to that mindset pertaining to your ancient foremothers and forefathers so that your days are long upon the earth land, right? And that's really what this is about. So to get out of the belief, graduate from belief to faith, and then graduate from faith to fruition. And you can do that in a fast-tracked fashion via astrology and civics in the form in which I shared, especially with the resources that I really share also. So with that being said, questions, comments, and those suggestions going through sides. Right? When you guys go to get your victuals and go to replenish yourself, right, with your nutritious decisions, make sure you speak affirmations for your health and wealth over your food, and as well as when you go to rest and recharge, make sure you rest and recharge well. All right. So if there are no more questions, comments, and or suggestions, this is where I say be ye selves and donate to what I will have there in the chat. All righty. Soon in the description, I will have all the information necessary. All right. And so with that being said, guys, I love y'all. All righty. I would like for y'all to make sure you enjoy yourselves. All right. And I look forward to seeing you guys next day. All right. I will see you on a Tuesday. All right. And we'll come back for part 3 for community health and nutrition fruition. With that being said, I love you all. This is where I say to you all, namaste, 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 Islam, Islam, Islam.